Hey everybody, welcome to Tattva Tuesday. This is the Conduit, Lindsay Warwick on YouTube and Spotify, soon to be Apple Podcasts when I figure that out. It's been a couple weeks since I've had a podcast guest, so I'm super excited to introduce Dr. Veronica Collings. She's a doctor of natural health. I've had the pleasure of experiencing her work. And I'm just really glad that you agreed to do this. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity actually, because in the back of my mind for quite a while, becoming more internet savvy and more social media responsive to my patients and to just the world that functions virtual. I thought it would be a good opportunity to get my feet wet.
Yeah, definitely. This is a great opportunity, and I feel like that's part of my life's purpose. I know you've also experienced my energy work, and I think that that's part of my calling is to like push people into where they're supposed to be. And oftentimes that can be a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like doing something brand new, but that's kind of how we grow and learn and all the things. So Tattva Tuesday is a spiritual interview series where I interview guests with all different types of backgrounds spiritually and, what they do in their career. And I thought that you would be a really amazing guest just because I believe in you. And so we'll start with your spiritual journey. That's pretty much kind of how I get these rolling. I just ask what has been your spiritual journey, and we will go from there. So it's a light question.
Great question. I had the opportunity to see a few of your other guests go through it, and I'm thinking, wow, we really are all the same. So yeah. Pretty much, if you take everybody that you've done, all the Catholics that have recovered, and then they went through all the different methods, and pretty much touched on the 100,000 different religions. I just learned yesterday that there are over 100,000 ways to view the world.
Wow.
And isn't that crazy? And not any one of them has ever made any difference. So here's like the scary part. Here's where my spiritual journey has taken me, to the realization that this world cannot be saved. This world cannot be changed. And it can never make us happy, because this is not where we live. This piece of meat that we're walking around with is not who we are. The meat sack is not who we are. And the way to real realization, I'm narrowing my 60 years of doing this really quick here, is to realize that who we really are is just one of those little parts of God. And as soon as we go home to that reality, not this virtual reality that we call this planet that we created, people go, oh my God, God must be awful. Look at all this mess. I'm like, no. See, God created us. We made this mess. This is all on us. So if we don't like it, let it go and we can go home. So anyway, my perspective now is a perspective from A Course in Miracles. You may have heard of that. Yeah. It is not a very, very widely subscribed to method of enlightenment. And there's probably 100,000 more ways to get there. So I'm not saying, oh, you got to do that, my way anyway. But A Course in Miracles seems to be my shortcut after all the other zillion things I've done over the years. Perspective is a perspective that I can live with and not struggle with. And what I mean by that is that it satisfies my mind and my heart and my spiritual self, and it all comes together. Pretty much everything else I've always done, but like everything else had a but. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Because I know you've
traveled. You feel it resonates, but not in entirety.
Right. So this thing makes total sense to me. And just a quick analog, if anybody's seen the movie The Matrix, and I think most people have seen The Matrix. Have you seen The Matrix?
We're in The Matrix.
Exactly. We're in The Matrix, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than the movie because the reality is home with God. The reality is good. The Matrix is the caca. So that's my whole spiel right there.
All right.
So, and what I do, and I do stuff. I do stuff to not forget as much every day. And by the way, I forget hundreds of times a day that this is not real and that I'm just living in a motion picture. I forget that and I take it seriously a lot. But the things that I do, like the doing things, I do transcendental meditation. I've been doing that since I'm 19 and I still swear by it.
Yeah.
I find it really centering. I'd rather go out without breakfast than without my 5 to 15 minutes of PM, depending on what the spirit calls. I do yoga, which I find for this older body to be the perfect medium to keep me young. To keep me, I want to stay here as long as I can possible. So when I die, I will have done as much of the work as possible, so I don't have to do it 500 million thousand more times. So I mean, I'm not that attached to this world, but I'm attached to getting the hell out. So the closer I get to a realization, I feel the closer it'll be before I be able to enable that. So if you have a meat sack that's constantly dragging you down because it hurts, because it's bloated, because it's that, blah, 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 you can't focus on what really matters because you're focused on your meat sack. And one of the things that I do is in my work is alleviate meat sack load so people can move forward into the real purpose here. That's all me, this is my opinion. I could be completely fooled. And the other thing I know for sure is I know nothing. So everything that's coming out of my mouth could be completely wrong. I'm perfectly okay with that. This is just how I'm living now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not attached to the outcome of my words. In fact, to go to one of the many other theories in Taoism, it says opinions for or against for a disease of the mind. So, you can just take this or leave it, like I take it or leave it, but these are the things I do. So I do my TM, I do yoga every other day, and I do work out at the gym with weights because as you get older, if you lose muscle mass, the meat sack, it's very unhappy.
Yeah.
And the muscle, at the older you get, the more important muscle mass is. And I do a prayer healing using Master John Douglas angels. And that I believe is like my gift to the world every morning before I do my other gift. And, very much a believer of what goes round comes round. And I'm here to serve. I had a recollection when I did the S training in 1982 of my contract into this life. By the way, I came in here kicking and screaming. My mother was in labor for 48 hours, poor woman. 48 hours.
Oh my
God. I'm telling you, when I did neuroemotional technique on that, when a doctor did it on me, I actually had a recollection in the womb, not wanting to come out.
Oh yeah, there's photos of me as a baby and I'm just like, why the fuck am I here? Like my face is like, my mom, they called me mellow yellow. My mom said she would have to wake me up to feed me, like to live. Like I was like, no, I'm good. Don't want to be here again. And you've already said so many things and my mind I'm excited.
We're all the same, Lindsay. We're the same.
We are the same.
We're the same.
I know we talked about this. You're me later.
Yeah, exactly. We're the same. And it's not just you and I. We're all the same, experiencing it slightly with a different script. You write your script, you come in and you do your script and sayonara. But anyway, my contract said that I was here to serve, in what I finally came around to doing, what I'm doing now, Doctor of Natural Health and the low force chiropractic and all the other little woo-woo techniques that I do. I'm very happy and grateful that I have that because I really feel that that's one of the things that I did right. And I can tell you the list of the things that I did wrong, embarrassingly long. Woo-hoo, up this arm, down this arm. I can probably use the legs too. Lots of wrong stuff. But this is the right stuff, which is why I have a love for it, a passion for it. And this is why people do come to me because they know there's something there and it's different for everybody.
Yeah. So I want to kind of dive into some of the things that you've already mentioned. You mentioned the Course in Miracles, which I own. And if y'all out there watching or listening, the book is this thick. And I have to ask, have you read the whole book?
Yes, I have. And first of all, wait, you have to get something. You're going to laugh because this is you again. This is us again.
This is
you
us.
Ready for this? Hey, you ready to take it?
I came prepared for you, Veronica.
Yeah. you're going to take a 30-year leap now and see yourself 30 years from now. So that book was given to me in 1978, which was like maybe like a year after it was published. Okay. It sat virtually untouched. So here's how I got it. So I went to visit some friends in Pennsylvania, out in the boonies, and had it on their coffee table. Huh?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So I had it on their coffee table. They had the ACI, the Course in Miracles, the blue book in the coffee table. And then I opened it up and I, like peruse, and I'm looking at a couple of things and I go, oh, that's interesting. And I closed it and I said, I'll do that someday. It was like, whoa, kind of heady. Someday turned out being like 30 years later, because it was not till 2004. It might even be later than that. I have the book, I can let it could have been later than that. I actually started doing it. And how I did it, it's miraculous again. A patient of mine gave me The Disappearance of the Universe, which is a book by Gary Renard. Disappearance of the Universe is a great primer for the Course in Miracles. It enabled me, I read the Disappearance of the Universe, and it enabled me to do the course. Had I not read that book would probably still be unopened in my bookcase, if not gone by now. So great primer. And he really made a lot of things, the process easier. So so the course is broken down in a lot of parts. First of all, there's the textbook, which is really heady. I did not start with the textbook. I started with the work. And it says in the course, start wherever the spirit moves you. The workbook on daily lessons, I found that way more manageable. And it's supposed to take a year. It took me 4 to get through a year. Okay.
The workbook are those daily lessons.
Say again.
They're the lessons, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The workbook are the daily lessons. So it took me 4 years to get through a year's worth of daily lessons. Same, and you're not supposed to do more than one a day, but I guess I didn't get more than one every 4 days. And anyway, that's how long it took me. And then I started reading the text after that, very little bit at a time. And once you did the workbook, the text is very much more consumable. Let me put it to that way, much more intelligent. And so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I have the book, and like you, I've opened it, like your former self, I've opened it and gone, ooh, and put it down.
That's exactly, yep. That's exactly right.
I'm very overwhelmed by touching that book. Yes. But it's been coming into my realm very frequently. Even just recently, I was speaking with Gwen, our friend Gwen, and she sent me a photo of the books that she's reading, and I own all of them. Have I read all of them? No. But she recently told me about The Return to Love, A Course of Miracles.
Yes, Marianne Williamson's book.
And so I bought that. So I'm like circulating. I love
Williamson. I love. You're circling the wagons. You're circling the wagons.
And I just want to, dive into A Course in Miracles. It's just sometimes, like you said earlier, this motion picture that we are creating, right? I take it too seriously sometimes. I take myself too seriously sometimes. I tell myself that I don't have enough time, which is bullshit because time isn't even real. I'm trying to learn how to bend time. I tell this to my coworkers all the time. I'm really trying to learn that. But I think that just having you on here and you read it and just it keeps circulating me that this
I'm circulating you too, I guess.
Just start doing it. Just start doing it. Like the Yoda quote, do or do not. There is no try. You just do it, So that's what I think I need to do. Very, very cool. I mean, you pretty much have discussed your spiritual journey and where you're at. Do you have one conception of God or source? Like, what is that to you?
More stuff of the world that I let go of, the more God appears in my life. So it's like super little things and super huge things. I mean, my prayers in the morning now are pretty simple. I wake up and I say the Holy Spirit, but I don't care what word you use. It doesn't matter. Whatever, universal intelligence.
I care about what you use. That's why
my word. I use the Holy Spirit. I use the Holy Spirit because I like it. there's no significance to it, but I wake up and the very first thing I say when my eyes are open, I say, to get the kind of day I want, I will turn it all over to you. Because anytime I interfere, caca happens. So I know this ego mind is the mind that has created this world. And if you haven't noticed, we're in a shitstorm at the moment. Have been for at least the last 10,000 years of history I know of. So, pardon the French, by the way. I heard the other day in one of the podcasts, you said French was well spoken in your podcast.
It's very well spoken here. I don't care. I don't believe that it makes me less of a woman, less of a lady, less educated, less loved by God. God fucking loves me no matter what I say.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. And so I start by turning it over. And when I feel bad, and believe me, this still happens. Sometimes I forget this whole thing. I'm telling you when it's a good. When I feel bad, I say, I must have made a bad decision. Because if my decision was with the Holy Spirit, I wouldn't be feeling this. So I say, I forget that question. I forgot what to decide. Holy Spirit, you decide. And I just start over. Yeah, I start over and I say, you tell me. And you know what? I usually get a message. I mean, and I've been especially lately. So basically, the more I let go, the more God comes in. So does that answer your question?
Yes. Okay. And another synchronistic moment, I have this daily teaching, The Secret, on my desk.
Oh, yeah.
Today, I love that one. I want to read today because we're recording. It's Monday night. We're recording and I want to read this. It says, the current state of our planet is just a mirror of humanity's minds en masse. The disharmony you see on our planet is a reflection of the disharmony inside human beings. The link between our planet and humanity is a connection that cannot be broken. The world will change and our planet will change as each human being changes inside. One human being inspires many others, and the many others inspire thousands. The thousands inspire millions. The millions inspire billions. And that's how we bring harmony to planet Earth. And I just got chills because of what you said.
Absolutely. That's how it's done. And you know what? Here's the better part. It doesn't have to be everybody, because there is a phenomena, I forget the actual name of the phenomena. You can think of it as resonance. And enough, like the 100th monkey is how it used to be explained back in my day, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Once enough people start to make a shift, everybody else just by osmosis sort of comes along.
They don't even have to.
Yes, the vibration goes up and everybody comes along. But the realization is really that this doesn't really exist anyway. And when you realize that this doesn't really exist, you can let it go and just go home to God. And believe me, God does not make mistakes. It's good up there.
God does not make mistakes.
So this is why we can't blame God for this world.
Absolutely not. It's humanity. It's ego, like you mentioned before, the ego.
It's ego, really. It's ego. You're either thinking with your ego or you're thinking with the correct mind of God.
And your heart space too. That frequency of God can flow. I've found recently that in moments of confusion or just things that I've brought upon myself, I try to sit and breathe and just bring it back to love. Bring it back to love. What would love do? Because this is some fear, ego bullshit talking. That's not even real. And let it go.
That's so true.
And then I also realized the less I focus on something in a negative sense, because that's kind of where I was coming from for this little segment here, is it goes away. I just don't focus on it. Bye. And we focus.
That's the law of attraction. That's the secret book you have right there.
Yeah, I've been honing my skills, and, cultivating and healing relationships and healing things within myself by utilizing those techniques, which I'm 34 years old and it's taken me a long time to sit back and say, wait, I can be in control of this emotion. I have to change my thought and then everything else follows suit. And I used to think I was so powerless. But I'm not. We're not. We are powerful beings. We are.
This is the only thing. This is the only thing there is.
Yeah, and
that thought is the only thing there is. Everything else just follows.
Exactly. And I like what you said before, that we're all aspects of God. I always say that we're all aspects of God. So even when someone's really pissing me off or really hurting me, I have to sit, take a step back, and realize, well, they're also an aspect of God and they're also on their journey. Because I had a shamanic mentorship class last week. I think I've talked to you about this. I'm on the Rose Priestess path, and she was defining the levels of ascension. So, and what we need to do to get to each level. And the majority of the first levels are clearing karma. So you're attracting all these like players to you, to your movie, and you are acting it out so you can ascend and move into a higher consciousness. So I think you said something that really reminded me of, I think we were talking about books and whatnot, and my book just came because my shamanic rose priestess mentor referred me to read this book, The Seven Sacred Flames, but it's like a codex, and you call on the sacred flames every day, and that calls your karma to you to clear and ascend and play the levels. So
The other thing that I learned that I can use, again, I don't do this all the time. Listen, as I sound terrific here, you just remember this is very intermittent. It's
and
like
also I don't know shit either.
Exactly.
Disclaimer.
Just remember that one. Just remember that's rule number one. I don't know.
The more I know, the less I know. The more I experience, the less I know.
Yeah, and it's great that way. But one thing I notice, like when I'm really in it, two tricks that I use. These are like little tricks. So like, let's say I'm on the road and someone just cut me off or whatever, and you want to like curse and give them the finger and everything. If instead you send them love, just say, you don't have to like even feel it. You just mouth the words, I love you. It poofs. It's like the weirdest thing. It just poofs. The whole thing just goes away. You cannot sustain that anger and the word love comes out of your mouth. So keep that in mind, because that's a real
I'm gonna try it.
Try it.
Because road rage is a thing for me.
Say again.
I do get angry behind the wheel sometimes.
Yep. And anytime you get angry. And it's really an easy thing, because you don't have to feel it. You have to think, you just mouth it. Just let the words come out of your mouth. And if you're just waking, and if you're having one of those days, just say, I love you to everything and everybody. It's like, you don't have to say it out loud. You're driving or you're walking by and just think, I love you, I love you, I love you. The weirdest thing happens. It clears so much. And the other thing, when you're really deeply in it, like the spouse, like the relationships that we have chosen to really do at refining that stone, like what is it, that machine that they put the stones in to smooth them out, to smooth the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it, but it beats them together and then they get smooth. Those are our deepest relationships are there for that. They're the hardest, of course, because they're the ones that bring up all the stuff. For those, when you have it together, which is rare in my case, but if I can look at what's pissing me off at the moment and I can say, what about that person
do I love?
No, is reminding me of what I don't like about myself.
Oh yeah, the mirror. Everybody is a mirror. Yeah,
a mirror. If you look about, obviously you're always going to go, what I love, that's clear, that'll end it all at the end. But if you forget the lesson of that instant, if you can shift and ask yourself, what am I seeing here is about me that I don't like about me? And that comes up, then it's game over, because you have learned that won't have to show up again. That bit of karma taken care of right there. That's my experience. And again, rule number one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, rule number one. I don't know.
Exactly. And I've healed a lot of my shit by doing that. And what I was thinking of going to the love is, if you're having a tumultuous time with somebody, I've written down, this is from The Secret as well. You take 10 things that you're grateful for about, let's say the situation's really shitty, but you try to find 10 things that you're grateful for. Like, I'm grateful that this person helped me figure out my self-worth. I'm
Yep.
grateful this person helped me speak my truth. I'm grateful this person showed me how to stand in my power, that sort of thing. And it totally, like you said, like that love you vibration instead of fuck you, that love you vibration, it just shifts it.
It's
So
awesome.
powerful.
It's awesome. Sometimes when I'm like really in the shitter, I'll just be grateful for a flushing toilet. That was supposed to be a pun, but I mean, really, do you know those people don't have flushing toilets, right? There's people that pee in a hole in a ground.
That's true, actually. Yeah, there's
No, it's
always
extremely true.
something to be grateful for.
I'm telling you, and it does not have to be a big thing. And
No.
that thought of attitude alone is also a good shifter. When you read The Secret, which you have there, she talks about having secret shifters. So like it's something like if you're really in the pooper, you think about this one secret shifter. If you think of something positive for 1 minute, it's not really a long time. It has to shift your vibration from negativity to positive. It just has to do it. So I remember when I did The Secret, I like 5, and back then, I don't know how long ago that was. I had index cards. Oh yes, on paper. Yes, that's right. Piece of paper and a little card, and I kept it in my wallet. And I had my shift. I'm telling you, I had it in my shifters. My first shifter. You want to know what it is? This is real private.
What?
When I was nursing my son. When I was nursing my son, was the most love in this earth that I ever felt.
Aww.
And I want you to know I nursed a kid for 2 years, okay? Now, my kid is older than you. Hello.
Is he?
And yes, he is. Yes, he is. Very handsome too. And at that age, has never been to a medical doctor. You hear what I said? The only time, and that's not exactly true. He broke his hand one time tripping on a tile. I got an x-ray. I didn't like it. So I had him go to the hand specialist. Everything was fine. He didn't even need a cast. But I just wanted to make sure that little wasn't something weird. Natural health. No vaccinations. I want to make that very clear. That is one of the major reasons. The 78 shots that our babies get now, not even counting the ones they get in the womb, because now they're shooting mothers who are pregnant.
I know.
The 78 injections of God knows what our children are getting now. It's not an accident that we have lost. When I say we, I mean this country. 20 IQ points in the last 15 years. If you want, if you look at children and they look stupid to you, guess what? They are a lot more stupid than you were. It's frightening. So natural health, even though it's, again, an illusion, it's just a meat sack. If you have to travel, if you have to be in the world, I'm not saying be of the world, but if you're in the world, might as well travel lightly, travel with less encumbrances, travel less sick, travel more like my son, not having to go to the medical doctor and getting blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. That's amazing that you kind of segued, because my next question for you was, how did you get into holistic wellness? And you basically answered, it's obviously it started with you nursing and that experience. And that kind of, if you want to expand upon that, obviously you're welcome to. I also am curious about what your favorite part of holistic wellness is, and what is one thing, not even one thing, it can be many things, but what are some key things that you want to convey to listeners or people that are watching this?
Okay. So I'll back up a little bit. So the Holy Spirit was actually telling me from very early that this was my path, and I just, wasn't listening. I remember when my father had a stroke, he was very young because there was a familial blood disease that precipitated it. I ended up doing his physical therapy because we lived in New York at the time and he didn't drive. To get to a PT in Manhattan from Queens was more cumbersome than having a stroke. So he taught me how to do his physical therapy. I'm a teenager now. He recovered 100%. Now, let me tell you what that means. My father was a diamond setter, very fine hand eye. He wasn't, breaking cold. He was able to go back to work and be 100%. So he was completely paralyzed inside, his arm, the whole. from that stroke. So that was a hint. Hint. Maybe I should do this. And then again, there were a few other instances where I had the opportunity. It's really weird. I was in the Greenwich Village. You know where that is in New York? Very famous
Yeah.
back in the day before you were born. And some guy literally passed out in his food. He was so drugged out or whatever he was. And we were eating in the same restaurant, and I got up and I resuscitated him. Mind you, I had no clue what the hell I was doing. It's just, the spirit just moved me to do that. And there were instances like that where I had the opportunity to just be told to be to go, like, maybe lady, this is what you should be doing. But I finally got it after certain more paths. But if I could convey one thing to people, if your body is a barrier to being, doing, or having whatever your purpose is in this particular incarnation, fix it. Because it's no point in wasting this life playing with the meat sack when there's much bigger work to be done for yourself. And I'm not saying like we're going to fix it. There's no fixing this world. Remember, it's about getting out of here. And we get out of here by it being perfect, right? Which is kind of like a dichotomy if you think about that, but so is everything else, a duality. So find your path. Is it me? I don't know. I know I've been doing this for 27 years. In Pennsylvania, I had 5,000 patients. I haven't counted here because I just started very small, very relaxed retirement practice. I do a whole bunch of different modalities. If you want to give my website, people can look it up. It says services we provide. My big thing is that the triangle for the meat sack, the triangle of health. You have to have your structure correct. You have to have your chemistry correct. You have to have your emotions correct. And you notice I didn't do the spiritual part. That's going to be on you. You're going to pick your path. But, structure, chemistry, and emotions work together. And it's a triangle. And if one side of the triangle goes down, okay, so if you have a triangle, right? And one side of the triangle goes down, it all goes down. Conversely, if you pick up one side of the triangle, it all goes up. So we work with structure with you, I test. Or do we start with chemistry with you? I test. Or do we do neuroemotional technique with you? I test. Or do we do whatever? When I say I test, I use that electromagnetic field resonance testing, which you may have read about on the site, which is the bidigital O-ring test. And then I can find out what's right for you today and what's right for you right now versus, so I don't have any cookie cutter program at all for anybody. When you come into my office,
which is the way healthcare should be, because we are all the same, but our meat sacks are different.
Our meat sacks have different needs at different times. And when I put people on, let's say, a nutritional protocol, let's say I put someone on whole food supplements, which, by the way, are the only supplements in my book, in my belief system, are any good. The rest of them are just basically different kinds of drugs that are not drugs. Chemical vitamins, which is, by the way, 95% of the vitamins out there are chemical vitamins, all made by two companies with different labels. So I don't care who you're buying it from. It's mostly just junk. There's just more toxicity. So the name of the game for natural health is simple. Toxins out. Now that is a much bigger challenge in the 21st century than it was 100 years ago even.
Right.
And real food in. And that's a real challenge, real food. I can't believe how much time I spent looking for real food now, whereas our great-grandparents, our great-grandmothers, just, what your great-grandmother called organic food?
Food.
Exactly. Because it was all organic back then.
And now we have to ask for it to be clean.
Yeah. And good luck getting it.
Sad?
No, it's just part of it's the
part of the matrix.
Du jour. It's the crisis du jour. This is our crisis du jour. Okay. It's no better or worse than any other crisis du jour. It's just the one we're dealing with now. But again, if you have to move your meat sack around, there's some basic rules. You can't poison it. You have to stop poisoning meat sack, and you have to give it real food. Take the toxins, the poisons out, and put real food in. That's primary. And your meat sack is made of between 75 to 95% water, depending on where you look. So if you're dehydrated, hello, And that, by the way, happens to be 75% of people. And just to tell you how important this is, your great-grandmother, 1 in 90 people had cancer back then. Right
1
now,
in 90.
1 in 90 had cancer back then. Now, let me tell you what the statistic is right now. Not 20 years from now, not 100 years from now. Right now, 1 in 2 men will have cancer, already do. And 1 in 3 women will have cancer. And cancer is so fantastic for the medical establishment, because by the time they kill you with chemo, radiation, and mutilation, they've made about $2.5 million on each person by the time they've given you 3 rounds. And most people live through cancer 3 times. So that means every time they get to spend more money. So it's a great moneymaker. It ain't going anywhere because pharma's just making a bundle. Hey, pharma just made 200 billion, not pharma, just Pfizer. It just made 200 billion on the COVID shot.
Oh,
Wonder why you did not know that there was actually easy, inexpensive cures for COVID beforehand? Because if any of those were revealed,
they
they
wouldn't
could
make
not
money.
get an emergency use. Well, they couldn't get an emergency use authorization because the law read, if there is any other way to fix this problem, you will not get an emergency use authorization for a vaccine or any other untested crazy ass modality. So, I mean, you have to really go to the basics of human health. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
For structure, I do the non-force chiropractic, myofascial release. All the muscle work is the most important part, believe it or not. The myofascial release and trigger points. And for the emotional component, I use neuro-emotional technique, which I don't know if we had a chance to do, but I love that technique.
We didn't do that, but I would love to with you.
Such a great technique. You go on the site, you can look it up. There's video on it, blah, blah, blah. Great technique because it's like this fast and clears up stuff. You're like, whoa. And then I give people instructions on how to do something you may have heard of, which you can learn on the internet now. Emotional freedom technique is a self-help system of emotional stuff. Neuroemotional technique is a practitioner-patient relationship, practitioner-client, whoever's providing. And but it's an amazing technique. So for structure, I use the non-force chiropractic and the myofascial and trigger point therapy. Chemistry, I use the electromagnetic field resonance test to find out what is appropriate for you. Do you need herbs? Do you need supplements? Do you need homeopathy? Do you need to balance your blood sugar? Do you need to eliminate allergens? And you know that that's a huge one because we went through that. So all of those questions get answered and we take whichever is your priority. Is your priority emotional, structural, chemical? I don't know. I come in and we evaluate it. That's how I do it. That's what you asked me, right?
Yeah, I did. I asked you, yeah, about your holistic wellness practice, how you got into it, your favorite part, some things that you wanted listeners to know, which I think you really touched on that with those statistics that are very alarming.
I hate to,
but
I don't want to be negative, but people have to wake up if they're going to keep the meat sack around. They don't care, it doesn't matter then, And but what satisfies me the most, I had one of those patients today, is spectacular results.
You are literally reading my mind. My next question was, can you recall a significant moment in your practice that you can share? And you're about to. We're on the same wavelength.
I got to tell you, I'm really, really, really blessed because I have so many success stories. I forget them. I have forgotten way more because every once in a while, a patient, now that I've moved away, a patient will messenger me or whatever, and they go, "Do you remember when blah blah had this problem?" And it was, actually, I don't remember, but thanks for reminding me. That was really a good win. And I've had so many successful ones like that. But then a lot of times they tell me, which is really one of my deepest joys, that not only have they gotten better, they shared what I taught them with somebody else. And that other person who I have never laid eyes on, haven't got a clue who the heck they are, they got better. So I'm thinking, like that pebble in the water.
The ripple effect.
The ripple effect. So today I'm working with a lady. To answer your question, this was memorable today. I'm working with a lady, I can't say any names, of course, who was being very resistant to giving up the gluten. That was her major allergen. And she had pretty much every symptom you could think of related to gluten. So I'm just wrapping up with her and trying to, empower her to try this and that. She had a particular barrier at that moment that she had not found a bread that she really liked. It was gluten-free. So I sent her texts of the couple that my husband really liked. He had not tried those. I mean, now it's so much easier now than it ever was. Because when I learned about gluten 23 years ago, there was like one loaf of bread and it tasted like, cardboard. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of different everything. And, so it's a lot easier now. But so anyway, that was going on. And then my next patient came by, just to let me know she was there. She was a little early. And I'm thinking, ding, 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 ding. This woman who's coming had the most amazing result with the gluten elimination. I'm going to say, let me see if she's willing to share. So I said, blah, blah, blah. Would you be willing to tell blah, blah, blah your experience? I wish I had a camera. She'd have seen this. She went on and on. She had more stuff than she had even told me. Not only had she gotten off like this lethal reflux medication, she went not the over-the-counter stuff you get, the paralysis. This is like 1,000 times stronger and literally kills you. I mean, the side effects of this is that right off the top, you lose 3.5 years of life. Okay. That's before all the side effects. That's just like the end. Not only did her symptoms completely 100% go away and she was able to go off all her drugs, she lost a dress size, all kinds of bloat. She went like this, she was squeezing her belly and goes, look, it's all gone. And then more importantly, and this is like long-term, you know what an A1C is?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me say it for your viewers and yourself. So A1C is a measurement of what your blood sugar is doing for an average of the prior 3 months. So if you are higher than 5.6, you're borderline diabetic. 6 is absolutely diabetic. This woman had come into me at 7.2. It's so common now that her doctor wasn't even alarmed. And she was full on diabetic. Her doctor wasn't even alarmed. Okay, so we did the sugar control program. Remember, we talked about that a little briefly as one of the programs that I do to help rebalance people.
Mm-hmm.
This is 3 months post. She's already had 2 blood tests. She first dropped from 7.2 to 6.4. Right now, as of her last test 6 weeks ago, she was 6.2.
Wow.
She's expecting to be normal by the next checkup. Good meat sack. And she got a job. She was like, she was retired. She goes, oh, now that I have all this energy, I got it. Oh, of course, when you do that, your energy comes back. So you're no longer feeling like you're 100. That's so much energy I was wasting. I got a job. I'm like, okay.
That's amazing. And I love that she was there to share that with your.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. That is a God wink. That is the Holy Spirit presenting just the right circumstance at just the right time. Is that going to produce anything? I don't know. I did my part. I do my duty. God does the rest. I do my duty. God produces the result.
Absolutely.
It's not up to me.
That's so amazing. I'm so grateful that my technical difficulties didn't get in the way of this. I was going to just throw in the towel and say, we'll just reschedule. But you know what? I haven't had this podcast in a couple weeks. I've been very busy with a new job and just new things, beautiful things happening in my life that I've kind of put this to the side. But this is me doing the work too, because spirit came to me and said, the conduit came in as the name. They told me you need to interview people, all different people, and tell their story, because it's all going to align into this. Like you said, that theme that you recognize, we're all the same. We come from suffering. We find this spiritual moment. We find our dharma. We start living our dharma, and then the ripple effects start happening. Oh, I hear my dog sound like he was going to start barking. Yeah, he's like, yeah, mom. But yeah, I went through some trauma, and that, honestly, I'm grateful to that experience because it helped open me up. And this person tried to silence me, and I was like, asked Archangel Michael for help. That person exited my life. The idea for the podcast came in.
Wow.
My friend Lauren invited me to do a podcast first, and then I got the idea, listen, you've been on a spiritual journey for a long time. There are a lot of people that you could speak to about this. And so it's very important that I still do this work no matter what's going on with my life, even when the motion picture feels like action packed and too much. I don't have time to do the podcast. Like that's bullshit. That's not real. So thank you for showing up and being you and sharing all the things. We're kind of coming to the top of the hour of our hour together.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you feel compelled to share before we kind of close it out?
No, I really, first, I want to just share that this has been an incredible experience for me. Not only all the synchronicity between us, all the synchronicity of the day, everything that happened, I also mirrored with you because I started my day with a Course in Miracles class before I went to work. And I came straight from, and I went to work and then came straight here, and I'm like, okay, I gotta hurry up, gotta do this, gotta do this.
I know, I was like, oh my God.
And then I got your text that you weren't sure, and I said, oh, okay, I'll just relax.
Like, same.
Relaxed. And I just relaxed. I'm like, okay, it's all good. I relax. And the joy of it for me is that I got the opportunity to be in front of this camera thing, and I feel pretty confident that I can do this in the event that the Holy Spirit leads me in this direction. So I had a huge lesson for this. A lot of fun to get to know you better, and you get to know me better, and whoever else is knowing us, I love you.
We love you. So that's beautiful. I'll have Veronica's contact information linked into the bio on YouTube and Spotify. It is on my to-do list to figure out how to upload. I have so much material from this entire year. Can't believe I've been doing this the whole year.
That's great.
To upload to Apple Podcasts as well, to kind of just delve into that audience. But connect with Veronica. She's amazing. If you feel the call, if you feel that resonance as you've watched or listened, however you're consuming this. But thank you so much, Veronica. I love you. You're amazing. I need to see you soon.
I'm here, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Love you too, sweetheart.
And thanks to all the listeners. I am planning on having this going weekly again. It's just been so crazy for me. So we will see how it goes. I'm trying to flow with life as well, but also continue to do my Dharma here. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful week.
Thank you.